Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. I'm coming at you from the comfort of my pajamas, so I mean, life can't get too much better than that for me. Today I want to talk to you about something that I think we're all seeing a lot about in the news and across the web. We're seeing a lot of issues regarding privilege and systems of oppression. I would like to add to some of these conversations. In general, we tend to really take this issue of oppression and privilege, and I feel like we're simplifying it in a really large way. It's a much more complex issue than we're allowing it to be, I think, in the conversations that I'm seeing around the web. For example, I see things about white privilege or male privilege, and someone might say, oh, well, white privilege doesn't exist because I know black people that are more successful than some white people I know. Or male privilege doesn't exist because I know women who are being more successful than some of the men I know in my life. But it's a lot more complicated than that. And so I'd like to introduce to you this term called intersectionality. Now, intersectionality is a term that was popularized by Patricia Hill Collins in her book, Black Feminist Thought. Intersectionality is this idea that no one system of oppression can completely define someone's social position. So for example, I'm white and I am a female, but my whiteness does not necessarily completely give me an advantage, nor does the fact that I'm a female give me a complete disadvantage. They kind of work together. And there are a lot of other things about me that make up my entire being that play into this idea of whether or not I have privilege or I don't have privilege. And so intersectionality, like I say, kind of allows us to see someone complexly and understand how there are a lot of different things that play into these ideas of privilege or play into the ideas of oppression. The concept of intersectionality allows us to demonstrate ideas of privilege regarding like who has it or how that person got privilege in a more complex way, and it sort of defies the simplicity with which we tend to have these conversations. So let's try and bring this concept to life. Let's say that we have 6 different people. So out of simplicity, let's just call them in person A, B, C, D, E, and F. I know, I'm super creative. Right now, we don't know how these people are distinguished from one another. All we know is that they have a letter assigned to them. They're nondescript. So we can kind of assume at this point that they're on equal playing ground. But let's start to learn more about these people, the attributes they have, and how those attributes actually form the way that this person operates in society as either an oppressed person or a person of privilege. Another thing to understand as we go into this is, culturally speaking, we like to put everything on a binary, right? So we have like oppositions. So we have like old, young, hot, cold, tall, short, but we really like to, you know, live in this idea of opposites, right? So when we're talking about this, when we're talking about race, we're going to talk about like white or non-white. And typically what happens is when you have these binary opposites, one, culturally speaking, tends to take on this idea of a positive attribute, while the other takes on a negative attribute. So this is true even among factors, like I say, of oppression. So we have the white, the non-white. So first let's look at like some of the big three. 3 of the biggest discussions I see right now on the internet are discussions of class, gender, and race. So let's apply these attributes to our faux people, A through F, and see how these attributes line them up for either privilege or an oppressive area. You'll see on the diagram that I have up that I have them all on the same line right now. They are all equal in stature at this point. And as I apply attributes, if it's an attribute that's associated with a positive connotation, so like the white is typically considered a positive and a step towards privilege. So that person will move up a step for anything that's going to look like privilege, and they'll move down a step for anything that would be considered something that's more on the oppressive side. So let's go ahead and we're going to start applying some of these characteristics and see where this makes those people lie on the spectrum. First, we're going to apply race, and so we'll see that 3 of our participants have a designation of white, and 3 of them have a designation of non-white, and we see that those with the white designation have moved up a step, and those with the non-white designation have moved down. Now we're going to add gender to the mix, and this complicates everything even more, because even though everyone is starting off from where they were when they just had race applied, those who have a male designation are going to move up a step, and those who are female are going to be moving down a step. So we see that person A is actually gaining another step, person B is actually moving back a step that they had previously gained from being white, person C is actually moving up a step to pretty much put them on par. Person D is going to be moving down a step for being female, E is going to be moving up a step for being male, and person F is going to be moving down again for being female. Here we're adding class to the mix, and you'll notice that anyone designated upper class is moving up a step, and anyone designated lower class is moving down a step. And here you can really see how we're starting to get a different stratification of the individuals that we're working with here. Now we're adding higher education to the mix. So those who have attained some sort of higher education, like a bachelor's degree or beyond, are moving up a step. And then those who have not had any degree, like a college education, are actually moving down a step. Here we're adding sexuality to the mix, so those who are presenting as heterosexual are actually moving up a step, and then those who are presenting as homosexual are moving down one step. Last but certainly not least, because there are still several other factors that we could take into consideration here, we're going to talk about ableism, so whether a person is able-bodied or if they have a disability. Now, anyone who is labeled as having a disability is moving down a step in this case, and those who are able-bodied are moving up one step. Now that we're on the final slide here, we can certainly see how all of these different factors play together to really give a person their place in society in terms of their level of privilege or their level of oppression. So this idea of intersectionality says that all of these things work together, and we've really just demonstrated how these people have moved up or down based on all of these different factors working together. So we see that we have some non-white folk who are doing better than other white folk, and then we have this person A who's got everything going well for them, and we have person F who is, well, just effed. So as you can see, all these different traits mean that people move up and down all the time. It's all going to depend on how many of these attributes are for or against that person. I think it's something that we need to keep in mind when we're having these discussions. But it's the way that these things play together that ultimately defines our experience. For a lot of people, that means even though they might be educated and might have a good class, they're still going to have a lot of experience that go against them. If their race isn't, of a privileged background, or if their gender isn't of a privileged background, or if their sexuality isn't of a privileged background, they're still going to be a lot lower than they should be based on the fact that they're smart and have money. It's a crazy complicated system, and we need to keep these things in mind when we're having discussions about privilege. Just next time we have these conversations, let's just understand that we need to imagine people complexly, because we are complex beings and these systems of oppression are equally as complex. Have enlightening conversations with people with this new information, or if you already know of this information, which a lot of my friends maybe have, share this video if you think that you know of people who could benefit from knowing about intersectionality and how this plays into privilege or oppression, and give this video a thumbs up if you thought it told you something new, or if you thought it had an important message to it, and comment down below if you feel like I oversimplified, because even I'll admit this is an oversimplification even of the issue. I'm just giving you a baseline because when you start talking about race, well, what about race presentation? Maybe I'm mixed, but I present more white than black, and that kind of can play into things. Or if we're talking about class, I mean, there's really high up 1%ers, and then there's the way down poor, but then there's the working poor, and then there's, you know, the firm middle class, and then there's upper middle class, and even that complicates things to varying degrees. So again, these are just really complex issues that I see people making not really light of, but maybe not treating them with the complexity that perhaps they should be treated. I hope you all have a wonderful week, and I will see you next Friday. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. If you haven't seen my last video, you can click on the video that's running right now and it will bring you there. Also, you can follow me on a variety of social media sites at The Nerd Boutique. Please be sure to comment on this video if you so wish. Give it a thumbs up if you thought it was great, and be sure to share it with your friends if you think it gives them valuable information. And be sure to subscribe to this channel. I put out new videos every Friday, and I will see you next time.